Diederik Gelderman here. Welcome back to your Veterinary Practice Conversion Formula training series. I really hope that you enjoyed the first of the online trainings. We had an incredible time making that video for you. If you only knew what it took to create content that I felt would really help you grow your veterinary practice and really help you manage and eliminate those three massive mistakes that even smart veterinary practice owners and managers make that keep them struggling with their work-life balance and their profitability. What you're going to be learning in this training today is how to eliminate massive mistake number one, ineffective and wasteful marketing. And the concept, the marketing formula that took me literally 3 years to figure out. Once I learned it and applied it, my practice's marketing just took off. I noticed that my client retention started increasing hugely, and what's more, I started to get a lot more A-grade clients. And it's not just about me here. It's about the fact that I was able to share this and teach this with my inner circle coaching clients at workshops and attendees at events who told me that it's one of their favourite modules from the Veterinary Practice Conversion Formula. They've been able to seriously increase practice profitability, save money on marketing, and at the same time, it's going to help you achieve that as well. It's a super valuable session, this session, and I really want to help you enjoy it. Once again, I want to be able to give you everything that I can. I want you to be able to take all of this away. But remember, we've got to get a move on and we have limited time, so there are things that I'm just not going to be able to cover. I really hope that you instigate these strategies and get the same fantastic results that I did and my coaching clients did and do. And I wish you tons of success. Now, as I said, we've got to get started because we've got lots to go over. So let's go. Quickly, before we do though, I'm fairly sure that you and I would have met somewhere on one of the introduction online videos. But in case we didn't and you found this video some other way, let me just quickly introduce myself. Once again, I'm Diederik Gelderman. I am a veterinarian and I owned my own practice from 1977 to 2009 when I sold it to go into full-time coaching, consulting and speaking all over the world. I'm the author of 4 published books and I've contributed 4 chapters to the 5-minute Blackwell's Veterinary Practice Management Consult. I speak at events, trainings, seminars all over the world. 2 of my websites are Turbocharge Your Practice and Veterinary Classrooms. Let me just go through what we're going to share today. First of all, the current state of marketing in most veterinary practices. The second thing is why you need both structure and strategy. The third thing is the 14 channels of an effective marketing system. And lastly, your client attraction system or strategy. And we're going to talk about that one in a lot of detail. So, as I said, let's get started. Surveys all over the world show that veterinarians think of marketing as their second biggest mistake. And not understanding their marketing and not having an effective marketing system is in fact one of the 3 massive mistakes that I've talked about previously that keep even smart veterinary practice owners and managers struggling with their work-life balance and their profitability. We're going to share a lot of information about marketing today. And to start off with it, I'm going to suggest that you come a little closer and we'll go to my computer screen and you can peek over my shoulder while we have a look at this marketing mind map that I've created especially for today's training. That mind map summarises and condenses and details the 14 channels of essential veterinary practice marketing. In other words, the core and the key elements of getting your veterinary marketing just right. Thanks for leaning in and having a look at the computer screen here with me. As you can see in front of you, here is a very simple mind map. But wait and watch what I do. You can see there's 15 areas here, all of which are necessary to contribute to an effective marketing system. Now, I'll expand these areas one by one and you can see how much detail there is under client attraction. Now let's look at the cost of losing a client. Now let's look at the client retention arm, then the client referral arm. Now we'll go and talk about lost and lapsed clients. We'll talk about seminars and evenings and open days. And then comes the marketing associated with nurse consults. Here's a number of references that are really useful for marketing purposes. Now we'll go and look at the other side, when we talk about ethically recycling clients, wow, there's a lot in there, isn't there? Some miscellaneous concepts, price shopper calls. Now we come to marketing plan, marketing calendar. Now we're going to talk here in this section about newspapers and blogs, newsletters and blogs, my apologies. Then an interesting one, learning to love feedback. Great book there, A Complaint is a Gift by Muller and Barlow. And then merchandising, which is a whole new section all of its own, and that's only a very, very small section of that. So as you look at this, you can see there's a lot to this. Let me just go back to the center. So as you look at the mind map, and as you go back and think about how simple it looked before I expanded it, I'm sure that you can now understand why many veterinary practice owners and veterinary practice managers think that effective marketing is a huge headache, and why therefore they might even throw their hands up in despair and say, it's too hard. Well, we're going to change that misconception today, at least a little. Let's be 100% clear here. Every practice is marketing all the time, and every person in every practice is marketing all the time by either what you do or fail to do. Now, it's just a matter of understanding whether the marketing is being done effectively or not, and whether it's working or not, and whether the money that you're investing, or should I be more cautious here and should I use the word spending rather than investing, and whether the money that you're spending is actually attracting the right client for your practice. Marketing in many practices is a little bit like throwing mud at a wall. Yeah, look, I know that we all know that analogy. So let me ask you, how much of what you are spending actually sticks, in inverted commas? I'm going to ask you 4 simple questions. Questions which, if you're marketing and tracking the marketing effectively and correctly, you'll be able to answer very quickly and very easily. So question number 1 is, how much of the money that you currently spend on marketing works? Actually works. And what sort of ROI, return on investment, are you getting for the money? You know, what's the bang for the bucks, as it were? Question 2, which of the marketing campaigns, the marketing thrust, the marketing programs that you do work the best? Which ones don't work? And therefore, which one should you repeat and which one should you actually can and ditch? Question 3, are you making money with your marketing, or are you just in fact throwing money away, you know, burning it up, as it were? And the last question, question 4, are you attracting the right clients for your practice and to your practice with your marketing? Or are you just in fact attracting, you know, the average client, the ordinary client? Because effective marketing is all about attracting and then retaining the right client for your practice. Look, most veterinary practice owners and veterinary practice managers that I talk to at events, at trainings, at workshops, you know, or even face-to-face, can't typically answer these questions. However, the savvy practice owner, the savvy practice marketer can indeed answer those questions. What category do you fall into? You need to be honest with yourself here. You know, not to be honest with yourself would be doing yourself a disservice. Let me really quickly say, if you feel that you're not a good marketer and you want to change from being a not good marketer to a good marketer or a great marketer, if you want to become an effective marketer, then it's really, really easy to do so from what we share and you learn here today. And it all starts with understanding where you stand in the marketing scheme of things, how good in fact you actually are. So we're going to share today all the tools that you need in order to get started with an effective marketing program in your practice. Look, there are so many other questions that I could ask you here in order to analyse your practice's marketing program. And I'm sure that by now you already know from these very simple 4 questions whether your marketing is effective or whether it isn't, or whether it's effective as you'd like it to be, and whether you feel that you need to do something to fix it or improve it, or whatever word you like to use. Let's be really super clear. Bad marketing is easy, and effective marketing is a lot more difficult because we need to plan and we need to think and we need to strategize. Where do we need to start off with in order to develop truly excellent marketing? Well, it doesn't start where you think it might. It starts with what you really need, and there's two parts to this. And what you really need is both the correct structure and the correct strategy in order to get your marketing to really work, to really sing. Now, structure means your marketing mindset, the marketing skills that you have. It's the underlying skill set and the underlying mentality, whereas strategy means exactly that. The marketing strategy, the marketing plans, the templates, the how-to, the letters, and those sorts of things. That's strategy. Look, a quick analogy that I like to use here is that structure is a little bit like the booster rocket that's sitting on the launching pad ready to get the astronauts to the moon. Whereas the strategy is the module in which the astronaut sits right at the top of that rocket. Now, you can see there's a whole huge booster rocket, and that's the structure. And the strategy, the lunar landing module, if you like, is just a tiny portion compared to that whole big rocket. So structure, the how-to, the understanding, the principles, all that sort of stuff is far, far, far more important than having the strategies. If you just have the strategies, then look, you're really unlikely to be an effective marketer. And this is where most people fail. Let me give you a scenario. You know all this, I'm sure, because no doubt you or someone else in the practice or someone that you know has at some stage been to a conference or an event or seen something online, and whatever it is, it sounded really good. And these people came back to the practice all excited, brought that information back, and then started to try and implement it. Notice I used the word try and implement it because for some reason it didn't work out quite so well, or at least as well as you expected. Does that perhaps sound familiar? Here, in fact, you have the strategy, but not the underlying structure, and so it was always doomed to failure. Let's go back to this mind map now and go through these 15 key areas very briefly. I'll just go through them very briefly, and I'll touch on them and explain them and their importance one by one for you so that you get a nice big overview. The client attraction system, I'm actually going to detail for you on a whiteboard in a minute in great detail. So I'm not going to go through that here. So let's start with the cost of losing a client. So it's really important to understand that every client has a lifetime value with you. And when a client is lost, you don't just lose that sale, you lose their whole lifetime value, which in the average practice is about $4,500 to $5,000. Another important concept here is how many other people do they tell when they leave you? The old story used to be they told 6 to 7 people, real life friends. But now with social media, it's 16 or 60 or 600. So the cost of losing a client to the practice is huge. I'm just going to shrink that down and we'll talk about the client retention system. So many practices focus on the client attraction system, the one that's up here, and they rarely have a client retention system. Well, it's a lot more expensive to attract clients than it is to keep clients, and again the studies show that it's about 14 or 15 times more expensive to attract a client than retain a client. And when we retain clients, even small incremental increases in client retention, then our profitability goes through the roof. So a 5 to 10% client retention results in a 50 to 100% in increase in practice profitability. And there's a number of aspects that are important in retaining clients. A system for delivering the unexpected, and these can be things like courtesy phone calls. These can be things like dropping drugs home if we haven't got them in stock. coffee vouchers while they're waiting for something. To retain clients, it's important to have welcome to the practice letters. Studies show that 3-year new client retention in the average practice is 50%. If we send them a welcome to the practice pack, that goes up to 85%. What's their client service experience? Is it consistent all the time? Or is it a little bit them like riding a bungee cord or riding the cable cars in San Francisco, up and down the mountains? It's like a roller coaster ride. So it's really important to create a client experience and to market it to that client. And in that interweave key critical pivotal moments, which I call moments of truth, much like the book that Jan Carlson wrote, Moments of Truth in Scandinavian Air Services. It's critical to segregate our clients into A, B and C. A, awesome, B, basic, C, can't deal with. And really retain nurture the A's, move the B's up to A's and ditch the C's. We need to ethically recycle clients and patients through all sorts of programs: dental, senior, feline wellness, breed-specific marketing, adolescent programs, chronic meds programs, all those sorts of things. Now, satisfied and loyal, which one do you want? Most people say they want satisfied. I'm sorry, satisfied doesn't cut the mustard. You want loyal clients. Satisfied, 67% of satisfied clients leave without saying anything, whereas loyal clients do say something, they complain so you can fix it. It's important to do regular client surveys so that you know how they feel, and these can be oral, they can be written, they can be internet based, or they can be face to face with focus groups. You need a system for answering the phone so that it's so awesome that clients keep coming back because they get such a great phone experience. And that obviously is also part of the client attraction system. Develop a patient lifetime plan, so when they walk into your door at 8 weeks of age, you have their lifetime journey mapped out for them, so you can tell them what's going to happen at 16 weeks, at 1 year, at 5 years and 10 years, so that when you come up with a senior screen for them at 7 years of age, they've been told it 5, 6, 7 times. They know what's going to happen. Pre-scheduling the next visit, the next appointment is critical because it takes another bag of cement off Mrs. Pet Owner's back, and she'll love you for it. And it's very easy to do, and they expect it now because their hairdresser, their dentist and their car mechanic does it. Courtesy call and follow-up system. I've talked about that already. Great way to bond clients, great way to nip problems in the bud before they show up. I've talked about lots of pet care programs already when I've talked about ethically recycling clients. There are in fact 10 pet care programs that you can run that underpin your marketing program, and these will just rotate all year. And as I said, dental, 2 kinds of senior, feline wellness, chronic meds, adolescent, obviously puppy parties and kitten kindies if you do those, but the breed-specific marketing of all types. In fact, there are 10 of these programs that you can run that clients are demanding. All the studies show that, and they'll keep coming back. And then a Friends of the Clinic program for your loyal clients. Now, do you know that, we're talking now about client referrals, do you know that most clients won't actively refer you for all sorts of reasons, but unless and until you have a client referral system in place, you're not getting nearly the amount of referrals that you could. And there are studies that show that number of new clients coming by referral and practice profitability are strongly linked. So we all have a passive referral program. In other words, we expect clients to refer people in, clients in, patients in. Yeah, it happens, but not very much. Whereas when we do an active referral, we'll really get them rolling in the door. This is the least costly way to attract clients and then retain them. Now, there's advantages of referred clients. Obviously, we already have a common interest. We have a friend. They're expecting good things from you, etc., etc. Disadvantages, there are a couple. They'll open their mouth to complain if there is something that they're not happy with, which I don't think is a disadvantage, because I think it's great, because then we can do something to fix it. But there are a number of other disadvantages along those lines, so they're not really disadvantages, but I've just chosen to put them under that category. As I said, most clients will not actively refer you. And I've talked about referred clients and profitability relationships. So, seminars and evenings. Do you have regular open days, regular evening seminars, client educational evenings, client appreciation evenings? These are really great practice builders. Why not either at some appropriate time of the year have an evening when you get your top 20, top 50, top 100 clients in and give them some champagne and some canapes and thank them for their custom. They'll love it, and your referred numbers will go through the roof. Lost and lapsed clients. It's all very well doing this one up here, attracting clients, but new client numbers mean nothing until and unless we know how many clients are lapsed and how many clients are lost. And very few practices actually have lost, lapsed client programs in place where they actively track lost clients or lapsed clients and then have a program in place to reactivate them. And it's very easy to do. A couple of simple letters or phone calls or emails, and you can easily resurrect up to 30% of them, if not more. So you ethically want to induce them to return. Team education, what I mean there is your team needs to know the cost of lost and lapsed clients and therefore help nip it in the bud before anything happens. Now we talk about nurse consults. So many practices don't use these and they're hugely beneficial. Adolescent programs, dental, senior, puppy, preschool, kitten, kindy, obesity, chronic meds. There's lots of them. Senior and nurses can be involved and manage and run all of these. A lot of these things don't need too much veterinary input at all. Some references which are great are Ogilvy on advertising. Claude Hopkins wrote a book in the 30s called Scientific Advertising. It's still very, very valid today. Jay Abrahams has got some brilliant stuff if you can get hold of it. And then obviously there's the great work by Oliver Adams, who was also called Obvious Adams. Brilliant marketer, all very applicable in the veterinary industry. Ethically recycling. And I've touched on this already in client retention systems. So here are some of these programs we talked about that ethically recycle clients. Now, clients are demanding these services: dental, senior, two kinds, feline wellness, breed-specific, adolescent, cat-friendly practice, lumps and bumps, pet insurance, FIV, and there's others. Clients are saying, please get me to come back for these things because my pet needs it in order to stay healthy and live long, and they are a member of the family, and so the client wants you to make their life easy for them. Pre-booking, I've talked about already, for all medical and surgical revisits, for their sterilizations or desexings, whatever you want to call them, for their next annual health check or vaccination or wellness exam or whatever. Clients love it, and it's very easy to do. You know, the recent studies, by recent I mean the last 4 or 5 years, all show that clients perceive, not all, show that most clients perceive that we really don't care about them. 66% of clients think that, and that's one of the big reasons they deal with Dr. Google, with internet pharmacies, with pet stores, with dog groomers, with lay chiropractors, lay acupuncturists, etc., etc. So we can fix this all very easily. I've talked about life plans already, and they are a brilliant way to retain clients and also increase the use of these services because the client knows they're coming up and you're not shocking them, in inverted commas, not that you ever would, when you start talking about, you know, hey, Fluffy's due for a senior program today. And you'll ethically recycle clients by creating a point of difference. Don't ever have a situation whereby a client can compare you to another practice. That's like starting to compare plasma screen TVs, fridges and washing machines, or the lowest common denominator is price and price wins. So create a point of difference so that they can't compare your apple to the other practice's orange. So miscellaneous concepts here are the lifetime value of a client, which I talked about a while ago, the client acquisition cost, and you need to calculate your client acquisition cost from the Yellow Pages versus from social media versus from the website versus from location versus from referral versus every other method, so that you know exactly how much it costs you to get a client in the door via any and every marketing thrust that you do. And then you can actually do what the next line down is, which put in place an acquisition cost allowable. You can say, I'm prepared to spend $20, $50, $100, $900 to get a client to walk in my door, and you can pre-plan how much you're going to spend and then spend it. The marginal net worth means the profitability of a client to you over their lifetime. So it's all very well known how much they spend over their average lifetime. It's also very important to know what their profit is to your practice. And then Jay Abraham, who I mentioned under references, has a concept of preeminence in which you will become regarded in the marketplace as the preeminent practice. And there's a whole concept and methodology around how to do that. Price shopper calls, we all get them into our practice. How many calls do we get per day, per week, per month, per year? It'd be nice to get a lot, wouldn't it? And then it'd be even nicer to have a fantastic conversion rate in place so that, and we're not competing on price here, we're competing on service, so that those clients come in the door even if our price is higher than the other people that they've run. And that is very easy to do. It's very easy to convert the average conversion rate in most practices worldwide of price-based phone calls. In other words, what do you charge for, or how much does it cost type phone calls. The typical conversion rate is 1 to 2 out of 10. So 1 to 2 will make bookings out of every 10 that ring up. It's very easy with the correct scripting to turn that into 4 to 5 out of 10, and with a bit of hard work into 6 to 7 out of 10. So this doesn't cost you anything extra, you're just getting a better bang for your buck. Important to do. Marketing plan. Do you have an annual marketing plan in place that rolls out monthly, which has detailed monthly action plans and action steps, which is integrated with the cash flow and the budget? So for example, if April is a typically quiet month, I would suggest that you have a marketing plan in place which starts to kick in February, which starts to bring stuff on board so that in April you're actually super busy, not quite like you typically are. That's really important, and again, it's easy to do. It just requires a bit of pre-planning. You've only got to do it once. You've only got to plan it and create it once, because once you've got it, it just rolls out year after year. Yeah, look, if you're doing something on Friday the 13th, they change every year, but it's still a Friday the 13th thing that you're doing, so that's easy enough. Above all, a marketing plan needs to create fun in the workplace. Many of the practices I work with, we have a director of fun who is responsible for creating fun in the workplace, because it's fun coming to a fun workplace and it's part of team building. A marketing plan engages the client, and it also acts as a point of difference. So, for some reason, now it'll collapse. Newsletters and blogs are critically important, as is social media, in attracting new clients and retaining old ones. Now, these can be electronic newsletters or hard copy. The blog could be written blogs or video. All these things can cost you nothing. You can do video blogs on iPhones or on an equivalent, Android phone. It costs you nothing to the software to edit it is free. Critically important to do these sorts of things. Websites now you can do them yourself on WordPress, and you can create a blog on WordPress. Very easy to do, highly efficient. There's a book by an Australian lady called Wendy Evans who talks about what you have to do every 90 days to retain clients. Well, that book was written 10 years ago and is now well and truly out of date. You really now need to do something every month or every 2 weeks or even every week to stay in front of your clients' mind so that they don't wander somewhere else. Then we get to this one here, which is Learning to Love Feedback. And as I said earlier, Complaint is a Gift is a brilliant book by Muller and Barlow, and will change our mindset fantastically on how to accept feedback and what to do about it. And we should be doing client surveys, as I said earlier. They should be done very, very regularly. I'd say at least monthly in some way, shape or form. Then the feedback should be acted on. Even have things like a suggestions box in the reception area. Clients love them, and when they're done well, they will use them hand over fist. There needs to be a complaint log to track complaints to see if they're recurrent. And as I said earlier, I'd suggest the use of regular focus groups so they can tell you how well we're doing. Then the last of these legs or arms or strands, whatever you like to call them, is merchandising. By simply putting a few signs in your merchandising area or reception area, by changing the displays a little bit, changing the heights of the products, by stocking it slightly differently, all this sort of stuff is no cost. By knowing what you're doing here, you can easily double the income from your reception area. So it's crazy not to have a decent merchandising program in place and to have someone in control of it. You must have the correct markups, and most of the markups in veterinary practice are totally incorrect. We're not using the markups that are used by other industries, and that's a real shame, because there's a lot more potential profit. We need to have effective displays, as I said. Even something as simple as where you put the price label will change sales. So if you put the price label on the front versus on the back, you put it on the front and your sales will decrease. Put it on the back or the top or the bottom of the product and sales will increase. And there's a lot to that, and I'll explain it at some other stage, but really important. And then of course, stock rotation. So there you have the mind map. Now that we've gone through this mind map, I'm sure that you've got a much clearer understanding and better overview of the holistic aspect of marketing your practice. Now, what it entails, what's involved, how to do it, what to concentrate on, the results you can achieve, and all sorts of things like that. So you've now got a bird's eye overview, and that's what mind maps are brilliant for, to give you a really high level, big picture overview. And then once you get that overview, once you look at the strands as they're opened out, if we open one of these strands out, as you look at that and you start to dig deeper and deeper and deeper, it's really easy to understand exactly what you need to do and where you need to focus on. So that bigger, higher level perspective to start off with, and then focusing in and in and in, really allows you to start to concentrate on the right areas and what to do, and it becomes so much simpler when you do this sort of an overview. So that being said, what I'd like to do now for you is I'd like to start digging a lot deeper for you and with you, and I'd also like to give you a real insider's in-depth view using three-dimensional glasses, or 3D glasses as it were. And so let's key down and let's focus in on one particular strand, and that's going to be this one here, the client attraction system. So let's look at that as the key learning outcome for today.
It's such a beautiful day outside, I thought we should come back out here. New client attraction is an important aspect of marketing, and one that most practices do all the time. Typically I do it by default though, and that's why it's just not done very well. And so that's why I've chosen that one, that out of those 14 arms that we talked about, that's why I thought we'd talk about that one and go through it in a lot of detail and give you a really great understanding into that. So the first thing I should say about client attraction is that practices focus on it. Getting new client numbers in the door is something that's really easily measurable. And there's no point getting new numbers in the door if they're leaking out of the bottom of the bucket or through the bottom of the sieve at an equally rapid rate. So new client attraction in isolation and getting new clients is a totally useless figure without knowing how many clients you're losing, lost and lapsed clients. But that's a talk for a whole other day. We're not going to go into that. As I said, typically new client attraction is something all practices do all the time. And it's something that should happen consistently and slowly and regularly. Excuse my dogs, they've obviously been excited by something. So new client attraction is something that should happen consistently and regularly and run in the background. Now, I believe that client retention is much more important, because studies show that it's cheaper to retain a new client, they'll spend more, they'll stay longer with you, etc., etc. Again, that's a talk for another day.
So client retention is more important than client attraction, and yet client attraction is typically what most of us do, and so that's what I'm going to talk about. There's lots of ways that we can attract clients. Yellow pages, newspaper ads, letterbox drops, website, social media, location, referral. There's literally dozens of things. And there's a couple of things I'd really like to point out. First of all, we're going to park referral out to the side. That's a talk for another day. So there's all these other things that you would typically do either deliberately or just accidentally, as it were, like your website just runs accidentally in the background, if I could say that way. Now, you invest a certain amount of money in each of those different techniques or those different strategies, and they'll all deliver you two things. They will all deliver you clients at a different cost. So, for example, it might cost you $5 to get a client, and it might cost you $500 to get a client from different media. They all cost you different amounts of money to maintain, and you'll get different number of clients per year out of them. That's number one. Number two, more importantly, is they will give you different quality of clients. So let's just throw referral into the mix again. Typically by referral you're going to get A-grade clients, or mainly A-grade clients. And typically by vouchers and that sort of methodology, you're going to get B-grade or C-grade clients. So you're probably better off spending more money on referral and getting an A-grade client that's going to stay with you for a long period of time, refer a lot more of their friends, and spend a lot more money with you while they're with you, rather than the B or C or D grade clients from a shopping voucher docket type thing that are just going to use you once and there's no profitability in that at the end of the day. So it's really important to understand your cost of acquisition of a client. So what does it cost you to get a client in the door? For Yellow Pages, it's easy. So you go to the Yellow Pages, get the cost of the Yellow Pages, find out how many clients came in by the from that methodology, and divide your total cost of the Yellow Pages investment by the number of clients, and that will give you your outcome. There's actually one extra step you could use. Yellow Pages cost divided by the number of phone calls that come to the practice out of the Yellow Pages. So that'll give you the cost of a phone call. And then the next step is dividing the Yellow Pages by the number of cost by the number of people that actually come to you and visit you. Now, you might have a 1 out of 10 phone call conversion. You might have a 9 out of 10 phone call conversion. It'll vary. I know one practice whose cost of an inquiry phone call was $50 approximately out of the Yellow Pages, and their cost of a new client from the Yellow Pages was over $900. So big difference. So it's important to look at your client acquisition costs, whether it's by location, social media, website, Yellow Pages, Pink Pages, the T-shirts or whatever it is that you give to the local football team or the local Rotary Club or the local Lions Club or whatever else. There's all sorts of ways of getting clients. It's important that you document and detail exactly what it costs you to get a new client by each methodology, and also what the quality of that client is. So track and measure how long they stay with you, how many new clients they refer to you, how many dollars or rand or euros they spend in your practice every year. And that's going to give you an idea of the quality of the client that comes to you from each of those methodologies. So that's the first thing, client acquisition cost. Once you know your cost of acquiring a client, you can then say, look, I'm prepared to spend $50 on getting a D-grade client through, let's say, a website voucher, for example. But a referral program, getting a client by referral, I'm prepared to spend $150. So you can actually start to budget for client allowable cost or client cost allowable, whichever way you want to phrase it. You know, new client allowable cost and new client cost allowable. And so, for example, if you've got a client allowable cost of in a referral situation of $150, then if you refer a new client to me, I'm happy to give you $150 worth of wine or chocolates or send you the movies or a night out to dinner as a thank you for for your generosity in giving me a client, because I know that that's going to be an A client going to stay with me a long period of time. Hope all that makes sense. You've just got to look at all your methodologies of getting clients and then the cost of each one, and then look at the client, the cost allowable that you're prepared to invest in getting a new one. So that's important, and you can and remember, marketing and advertising is an investment. When you look at how much you spend on your advertising and your marketing in attracting a new client, then it's really important that you have an ROI, a return on investment. Do I want to double my money from my Yellow Pages ad or my online website? You know, if your website costs you $3,000 a year maintain and you're getting X number of clients from it, do you want to say get a 5 times ROI, which means that each client or your annual clients should return you $15,000 if they come through your website. So that's the client acquisition cost type side of what we're going to talk about today. The other thing is to become, another way aside from that more generic stuff, is to become a veterinarian of choice, a practice of choice for various groups. And I mentioned Rotary, I mentioned Lions, there's all sorts of different groups in your area. But have you thought about becoming a veterinarian of choice for your local cattery or catteries, or breeder or breeders, or dog kennel or dog kennels? Now that might be something you want to do as well, and again affiliate yourself with some really high-end people that do what you do and like what you do and you like what they do, etc., so that you're getting a good quality of client, whatever that means in your model of the world. Then what about becoming a veterinarian of choice for a local hotel or motel, so they refer anybody that stays with them that has a pet to you? I mean, almost a concierge type practice. You might do house calls for that hotel or motel. You may not, but you may. That's a really good way of getting new clients as well. Then, as well as that, there's the same sort of thing from professional organisations. And this sort of is a little bit along the lines of groups, but there'd be professional women's organisations, professional men's organisations, builders, plumbers, electricians, those sorts of things as well. And you can consider becoming a veterinarian of choice for those groups, and they will therefore refer you to all their members. That doesn't mean you would give their members a discount, and it doesn't mean you wouldn't give their members a discount. What about realtors? Have you thought about a local realtor that would refer every person that rents a house from him, a new rental or a new purchaser, new homeowner in town, that he would say, hey, this is my preferred veterinarian, he treats all my pets, love him dearly, fantastic, great at what he or she does, and here's a voucher for a free first consultation, or there may not be a voucher involved at all, but something on that line where he or she actively, not passively, refers you to new people in town. And you can have that sort of similar relationship with anyone that's got good disposable income to spend on their pets. So typically to me that means high-end dress stores, ladies' dresses and menswear stores, nail salons. Excuse the dogs, they've just seen something else to go crazy about. They'll stop in a sec. Dress stores, nail salons, hair salons, florists. They're all people that have great relationships with their clients and often know their family or house situations really well, and they will often exchange recommendations and names and whatnot. So becoming a preferred first cab off the rank for those groups of people works really well. These are called joint venture relationships or allegiances, and they're a great way for getting new clients as well. So another important thing to think about is testing and measuring. Whatever you do, whatever you invest, whatever strategy you use, test and measure and adjust. Test and measure and adjust. Test and measure and adjust. All right? Then we've got the concept of a marketing plan. You need an overall 12-month marketing plan documented well into the future that's going to show you what you're going to be doing January, February, March, all the way through to December. And if you've got, let's say in October, you've got a pet dental health month coming up, you should already be starting to talk to your clients about it in as early as April or May. And seed that concept so it doesn't just hit them over the head in October and they say, what happened? And then the month's over and the whole thing's gone. Another important concept. And in with your annual marketing plan, annual marketing calendar, I would suggest that you have a social media marketing plan and calendar. Now, just on social media, I don't know whether you like it, whether you're active in it, whether you do it or don't do it. The only thing I'm going to say to you is it works. It works. And if you're not in that game, I'm going to suggest that you're well behind what other practices are doing. And so you need to, I suggest, be active on Facebook. I'm not so much onto Twitter and Pinterest and all those sorts of things, but at least start on Facebook and be active consistently, either once a week, 3 times a week, or 5 times a week, whatever you like. Be active. Plan well ahead. And again, like I said, if you've got something happening in October, start to talk about it now. Tied in with your social media, there should be a couple of other things as well that I'd suggest. From your website, you should be sending out a blog. Call it blog/newsletter, whatever you want to call it, once a month or maybe once every 2 weeks, something on those lines. Not about me, not about you, about the clients. Congratulations to clients on this and that. Tips of the week or tips of the month, new products and services, maybe recipes, maybe team changes and interesting things about the team. They want to know about the fun stuff, the social stuff, not about the bells and the whistles of the practice. They don't care if you've got a new anaesthetic machine, unless you somehow manage to tie that into, we couldn't have saved this patient unless we had this piece of equipment, and make that into a human interest story. That works really well. Now, as I said, regular blogs or newsletters, important, come from your practice website, drive people back to the website. And then as well, how-to videos. 2 to 4, 2 to 3, 3 to 5 minute, no longer than 5 minutes, videos on how to trim nails, how to pop pills, how to put top spot things on, eye drops, ears, all those sorts of things, dog bathing. The list of things that you can do is that long. You can do heaps of them. And you send them out once a week or once every 2 weeks or once a month. You post them on YouTube, get your own YouTube channel, brand it for yourself, and then post on Facebook as well with links back. When you get videos that put up videos that clients are happy to share with their friends, my golly gosh, you'll have a whole new raft of clients clamouring to become one of your clients, or potential clients clamouring to be one of your clients. Brilliant strategies. You need to make the tips useful to them though, and make them very easy to share. Brilliant stuff. Not going to talk about referrals, like I said. It's a very important concept, and I'm not going to talk about that today because it is such a separate strategy. LinkedIn, look, not really used to grow your practice, not for clients. It's a good social network for veterinarians, but that's about all. And the last thing I'd like to share, or a group of last things, are TV, radio, newspaper, other yellow pages, whether they're pink pages or whatever you want to call them locally, and schools type endorsements or group type endorsements. So newspaper, look, you can make it work, and it can work very well, but gee, you've got to have an advanced marketing psychology and methodology to getting that to work properly. So I'm going to suggest you leave that alone until and unless you've got everything else locked in place. When you do, look, send me an email. I'm happy to walk you through it. Same with letterbox drops. The numbers just aren't there. If you get a 1% return on a letterbox drop, in other words, you send out 100 letterbox drops and one person comes in your door, that's a good result. Now, typically as veterinarians, we'll look at that and say, oh my golly gosh, how bad is that? Look, not bad at all. That's average. That's what you'd expect. If you get 2 or 3 or 4, woo, brilliant. So again, I'm not going to suggest you do that unless there's a specific reason, and it might be that you're changing location, it might be that you've started a new practice in a new suburb, it might be that there's a new suburb open up around you or near you and you want to target those clients and get them to come in. But really you've got to have a very specific strategy and have a very good concept of marketing before you do newspaper or letterbox drops. Radio, again, doesn't work particularly well for most veterinarians. The only way you can get it to work again is if you really know what you're doing, and if you have a 20 or 30 second offer that'll drive them into your door. because typically most people are driving when they're listening, they can't write down your number. So those things are good to keep awareness of your practice up there, but I'm not into awareness marketing, awareness marketing or advertising. I'm into what's called direct response advertising. In other words, I do something, I want to be able to immediately measure the return on investment and the outcome. So I know if I spend $100 and I want $500 in the door, I can measure that. And if that occurs, brilliant. And if it doesn't occur, I'm going to test and tweak it and do it again. But direct response is what works for me, not this airy-fairy, throw $100 in the air and see if some of it comes back to me type stuff. And that's typically what you get from letterbox drops, newspapers and radio. The same can be said for TV. The same can be said for cinemas or theatres or whatever you like to call them, advertising there. Definitely something that I would not suggest you use at all. And then pink pages and those sorts of things, same for yellow pages. 7 to 8% of our clients only these days come from those methodologies, including online. And please don't let the yellow pages type people in your area convince you that, you know, exposure through the online yellow pages is the end all and be all and you need to do it. No, sorry, they're wrong. A good website and a good social media platform will hugely outstrip yellow pages, physical or yellow pages online. So that leaves us with the last thing, which is things like school groups and other groups where you would, you know, give them money to put on their gym bags, on the back of their T-shirts, on their embroidered logos on their T-shirts or whatever. If you're feeling like you want to donate money to the schools or donate money to those associations as a good cause, almost like a charitable donation as it were, and I mean that in a nice way, by all means go ahead and do it. Will it return you your investment? Sorry, I'm going to say it really doesn't, or typically doesn't. So you are giving money away, and that's fine. If it's for a particular reason and you understand that, brilliant, go ahead, keep doing it. If you're looking at a return on investment or looking at a strategy to rapidly grow your practice, a marketing strategy to rapidly grow your practice, not going to work. Location is another client attraction device, a new client attraction device, and of course your sign needs to have all the bulbs on, and it's amazing how many practices I go and visit where their illuminated sign is only partially illuminated. Your car park needs to be neat, you know, no holes, lines neatly painted. Your gardens need to be alive, because if there are plants that are dead, then the client actually equates that to poor quality vet work. So location's really important, no cobwebs, all those sorts of things. They need to be attractive to the driver, buyer, as they're going past to induce them to come in the door. Alrighty, so that's a summary of the key points of the new client attraction process. Now, please remember, it is an investment, and you want a return on that investment. So test and measure, change and tweak, and manage to get your outcomes as high as possible. So just like we've used the mind map today to look at one key area of your practice as marketing and just expanded on that just recently, you too can now use that mind map from this video to focus in yourself on other key areas in your practice as marketing. So use that mind map and go for it. Focus on an area and go like crazy and make it work for you. Now remember too, to get your marketing functioning really well and to get all the benefits that you want out of it, you need to address and look after all 14 areas that we went through a while ago. Are you doing that? Looking at all 14? Because if not, there's cracks. So what we've gone through today is just one small aspect of what I call the veterinary practice conversion formula. This is the formula that I work through with my inner circle one-on-one clients that get them the massive results, and what's more, the instant results that transform their practices from, you know, here to here. So let's now move on with a quick heads up about next week's live online training video. And it's about another key aspect of veterinary practice success. And most veterinary practice owners and managers cite it as the worst understood, the most misunderstood part of veterinary management. And ignoring this is a little bit like driving your car forward but only looking in the rear view mirror. So what is this aspect of veterinary business management? Hey, it's managing your business chassis. And that's the nuts and bolts and the finances and the spreadsheets and the data and all this sort of stuff. Now, it's all that stuff that we're not trained for. We're not trained for at veterinary school. In fact, we probably only look at this data on our practice, once a year, and that's when we go and visit our accountant, and he or she sits down with us and does the end-of-year tax returns. So, thank you very much for joining me. Please keep your eye open for that online training video next week, which is going to talk about the second massive mistake that most veterinary practice owners and managers make that keep them struggling with their work-life balance and their profitability. So keep your eye open for that. If you've got any feedback at all, I'd love to hear it, and if you could put it in the comments section below, that would be just brilliant. And I'll personally address it. So that's it from me today. I look forward to catching you again on the next video, online training video, which will be out in about a week's time. So thanks for joining me. It's Cedric Elderman, over and out. Bye for now.